whenever, and it says we're live. I love the reveal part. It's so much fun now. I'm like,
Yeah.
look at this beautiful
Dramatic.
graphic from Chris Harp, and then look at our faces.
It's
Hello.
like it's got a little pizzazz.
Bah, jazz hands.
Exactly.
See how we thought the same thing?
Yeah.
Mind meld. I don't know if that's good for you, Bloom. I'm sorry.
No, it is good. It is good. It's symbiotic. It's like, what is it, lichen? That's like moss and fungus. I don't know if you're the moss or the fungus.
I don't know either. I'll leave that one alone. Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Well, I think Joe Burrow is going to kick the crap out of Baker Mayfield and the Browns. How about that? Thursday night football. It is the week 2 preview, part 1 here on the Audible, the footballguys.com podcast. Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom. Cincinnati side first. And that means Joe Burrow. That means Joe Mixon. That means AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, all of these weapons that Joe Burrow has. And this is a battle of Ohio. This is a division rival. This is Thursday night football. Every time I turn on the TV, I see Baker Mayfield commercials. Don't see Joe Burrow commercials. I see Burrow out there slinging it. I see Burrow out there looking better in one game than Baker Mayfield. So let's talk about how the Bengals will continue to attack. Will they choose to attack with mostly Joe Mixon? Yeah, sure. But when Joe Burrow wants to rip that ball and they go into hurry up mode, Bloom, that's when things get fun to watch.
Hopefully this will be fun to watch, Cease. This one reminds me, Chris Berman, another Chris Berman reference. What did he call back in the day that Tampa Bay versus Green Bay wasn't a good game? He called it Bay of Pigs.
Bay of Pigs, Battle of the Bays, all that.
I'm not even sure what to call this one right now. Like poop sandwich. It's the colors of the team. I don't know, because these teams aren't going anywhere this year. Okay. There's lots of interesting plots here. This isn't exactly must-see TV for week 2. However, Joe Burrow might be must-see TV. And what we're watching here is Burrow not really looking like LSU Burrow until the end of the game. Right. The tempo picks up. So Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, offensive geniuses, young guys, are you going to put more of that in? What does that mean for Joe Mixon? Got the volume. Does he get more work in the passing game? Come on, Joe Mixon's an excellent receiver. Or is it more Gio Bernard, who maybe fits better in that hurry up, although I think that Mixon would be fine too. AJ Green finished the game healthy, Cease, at least as of this moment. I haven't heard anything. And if they hadn't had terrible offensive pass interference call, right? Terrible call. Let him play. If he had caught that game-winning touchdown, we'd say it's a success for fantasy, his first week. So against Cleveland, in the background here, we have Lamar Jackson, the offensive player of the week in the AFC. Is it Lamar Jackson is that good, or is it Cleveland's defense is that bad? So that's another thing we're going to look at here. Myles Garrett not making much of an impact. Their number 2 corner, I think, was Terrence Mitchell. Like, anytime you see Terrence Mitchell on the field, that's who you want to target. So can Joe Burrow do those things? And I'll come back to that in a second. John Ross actually played the most number of snaps of any Cincinnati receiver. Does he do more? Does he get on the waiver wire? Week 3 report against that weak secondary. Barely missed a touchdown. Maybe he could have laid out for it. Maybe Joe Burrow could have made a better throw. Another thing to note here, by the way, CJ Uzomah has a pulse. And then, of course, again, with that hurry-up offense, will that help Tyler Boyd, who did very little, facing Chris Harris? He's not going to have to face Chris Harris this week, so it could be a Tyler Boyd week. And then the other thing, sees a theme this week for the previews. So it's the either or thing. Something to keep in mind, folks. We have our week 1 data points, but what happens in week 2 will change the meaning of week 1. So again, in this case, was it the Cleveland's defense is just that bad, or is Baltimore's offense so good that they'll make every defense look bad? Again, let's see how Cincinnati looks. Or the Chargers. Is the Chargers defense, actually, even without Derwin James, pretty good, or is Cincinnati's offense just not going to be that good this year? They're not going to make the adjustments. So again, keep in mind, when we watch week 2, it changes what we thought about week 1.
I think there could be a Bengals explosion on offense. And, maybe that explosion's like 24 points, right? I'm not saying dropping 35 on them, but Cleveland push over our guy, Diego. What's up, Diego? He says, whispers, Bengals as a streaming defense.
Sure.
All I know is I'm looking to upgrade from my Broncos defense pick in Fessel OG. So let's move to the Brown side of things, where Okay, they'll continue to use Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in tandem. We'll get more data points on that and how that plays out. Someone's got to score a touchdown for that relevance to spring forward. Odell Beckham Jr., he's only about one thing, winning and producing. Even though, as our guy Eric Edholm pointed out, that's two things. So, Jarvis Landry will produce, maybe not win, and then we'll continue to watch this tight end situation. Sans, David, and Joku pour one out there. As it looked like he was going to do something, and we're going to talk about him on waiver wire, and then now, nope. So the Browns have some assets, Bloom. Still don't know if they got the right guy pulling the trigger at quarterback.
Yeah, that's the big story here. Big story. And when he said Bengals offensive explosion, I only think of Joe Exotic, or the scene whenever the Simpsons predicted the tiger attacking Siegfried or Roy or whichever one of them got attacked. Anyway, maybe it's Baker Mayfield who gets attacked here. The big story here again, Baker Mayfield just looked bad. He just was not a good quarterback. And this one's going to be on public display. Bengals have a pretty good defensive line. Mayfield needs to create some sort of momentum. And he does for Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb needs game scripts that stay on schedule. Nick Chubb is still very good. Nick Chubb fits in this offense very good if they can stay in plan A. But if you don't think they can stay in plan A, that's where Kareem Hunt comes in. So it's more of Chubb, say 60, 65% if they stay on track. But if not, then it's maybe Hunt 60, 65%. So every time you're deciding whether to start Hunt, whether to start Chubb, you're making your DFS decisions. It's really what you think about the Browns. And this is not that tough of a matchup. Odell Beckham. Oh, man. Maybe you're benching Odell Beckham. Drew a lot of penalties last week, a lot of frustration, had a few drops. It's just not happening for Mayfield to Beckham. Cease, did you ever think we'd pine for Eli Manning? Even late career Eli Manning. William Jackson III, one that got away. Artie Burns is on IR. When I think of Artie Burns, I think the one that got away. If the Bengals had
both of those guys, I think, of the one that got away.
Yeah,
Jackson and Burns.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's who the Steelers took instead of William Jackson.
Right, until Jackson, right.
Whenever the Bengals took Jackson right in front of the Steelers. So William Jackson III on Beckham. You're not crazy if you're benching Beckham this week. Landry didn't practice on Tuesday. It's Wednesday morning. Maybe hope you don't hear setback or aggravation of his hip issue. And if Landry's out, this one's brought to you by the letter H, Cease. It could be more Hunt, more Hooper, more Higgins, more Hodge. So, I would say Hunt would be the best pick of them. Maybe we do unshut down Hooper with Njoku on IR. Also, I think Matt Waldman favorite Harrison Bryant is someone to watch here. And here's our either or for this part of the segment. Is it that Baltimore's cornerbacks are just that frustrating? Or is Baker Mayfield sinking fast? Is Cincinnati's defense decent? Or is the Chargers' offense just boring? Although I don't know that Cleveland's offense is going to wake us up. Either this game may not wake us up, but Sunday we'll wake up happy for another Sunday of football.
Good thing this Thursday night football game isn't at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, Bloom, or else I'd sleep in. It's a little inside joke. Let's talk the Giants and the Bears up next. And the Giants, they get a little breath of fresh air, right? Week 2 is going to give us different data points than week 1, because in week 1 they could hardly do anything against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We didn't get to recap that show, Bloom, and that game. But now we get to see Saquon Barkley. Okay, you're not facing the Steelers. Still catch, 6 passes, whatever, but can you get 100 yards on the ground? Can you do a little bit more against the Bears? We'll see. What's that mean for Darius Slayton, who was about the only one that was productive against the Steelers? So the Giants might actually feel like they can play offensive football this week because they're not facing the Steelers defense.
Yes, you framed it already. I don't need to say it. Is it just the Steelers defense is that good? Or is Daniel Jones and company going to have a little rough start? Although the Bears defense was not very good against Detroit. Didn't have Robert Quinn. So maybe the Bears defense isn't one of the tough draws, and we could see Daniel Jones bounce back. Daniel Jones, see, you got to say, and we saw this at Duke, I mean, the dude hangs in there. He shows up to play football. And if he's going to have to take hits, if he's going to have bad things happen to him, he has that mental, emotional, spiritual approach to the game that he's out there to do the best he can do. And we may see the best he can do isn't going to measure up, but he's not rattled by everything the Steelers were sending at him. He's not rattled that the running game was putting them in 3rd and longs on every drive. So you have to like what you see in terms of the mental toughness there. And then, he did pretty well in garbage time to bail him out. So if you played Daniel Jones in that tough matchup, say in a 2-quarterback superflex league, you got something pretty good. Barkley's going to have an easier day. Just don't run against the Steelers. Just don't. Someone's saying Emery Hunt, who's everything he says about football is gold, says maybe the Steelers had a tip off on the Giants' run calls or something. I don't know. We'll see if the Steelers are just that good against the run whenever they face Denver. But Barkley should have an easier day. Whether or not Golden Tate's ready, Darius Slayton is the number 1 receiver to start in this offense. And you loved seeing Daniel Jones hang in there to deliver that deep ball. That's what he needs to do to really get the most out of Slayton's value. Sterling Shepard, the possession receiver, maybe some more opportunities for him this week. Evan Ingram needs to do something. Yeah, I mean, we could chalk it up to the Steelers and the tough matchup, but that didn't stop some of the other players in this pass offense from producing. If Evan Ingram doesn't do much this week, then we're kind of on a watch, like your Windows talk, Cease. That window's closing. How many weeks are you going to give away at tight end of Evan Ingram doing nothing just because you drafted him to be your starter? Either or, is it the Giants' offensive line maybe has a little more holes than we thought? Is it the Steelers' defense are just that good? The Bears are going to test that. Is Detroit's offense actually good? Because, again, until the 4th quarter when Matt Patricia slammed on the brakes, they were moving the ball well against Chicago, or Chicago's defense fading. Could we have a 2-0 Mitchell Trubisky Chicago Bears, Cease?
Yeah, and Bloom, think of who you might have gotten as a backup to Evan Ingram. You might have drafted Noah Fant as a backup to Evan Ingram. You might have drafted Logan Thomas as a backup to Evan Ingram. And now you're sitting there staring at Ingram going, I kind of want to start the other guys.
Yeah, do it. Jonnu Smith.
2-0 Mitchell Trubisky. It's a possibility. Things change pretty quickly around here, isn't that what Joe always says? So, yeah, okay. Mitchell Trubisky leading the charge, but will it be with Allen Robinson? Like, there's the Odell Beckham Jr. trade talk. I know the chat room was asking about that, which is mostly bunk from what I hear. We'll see. Anything can happen. It's the NFL, so I never say anything. Certainly he's not going to get traded, and then watch him get traded.
Right.
But the Allen Robinson thing, like, sands through the hourglass. These are the days of our Bears' lives. Is Allen Robinson leaving? What's going on there? How's that affect Trubisky and the rest of it? Anthony Miller's stock watch on the way up. And as then you said, watch out for the old man, Jimmy Graham, right?
Yeah.
See what they can do.
So Mitchell Trubisky was bad for 3 quarters, and then all of Detroit's corners got hurt, and he was good. Giants pass defense did not look good against Pittsburgh. Maybe it's just that Ben Roethlisberger's that good. Maybe it's that the Giants pass defense is going to be that bad. We'll watch that to see if Mitchell Trubisky's redemption continues. Maybe a little DFS intrigue here with Trubisky. Remember, he can run now. David Montgomery, over the groin injury, obviously. Can he get a better game script in this one? Giants, not an easy team to run on. Had a lot of their strength is up front there with Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. But I'm not saying to start David Montgomery this week, although the game script might make you wish you did. Tariq Cohen didn't do as much. You got the unhappy Allen Robinson. Patriots, right, Cease? Patriots?
Yeah, right.
Patriots.
Yeah,
it's Patriots.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's always how it works.
Robinson's still a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, not a wide receiver 1 with Mitchell Trubisky. Maybe this is one of those, squeaky wheel gets a little oil in terms of some targets. Certainly there's nobody on the Giants that we're worried about shutting him down. But we have Anthony Miller, who I don't even think played half the snaps last week, but came through with game-winning touchdown. So Miller value on the rise. We'll see if he gets more involvement. Again, with Jimmy Graham, what we're watching is plan A at the goal line. Just throw up the jump ball for Jimmy Graham, and he can still do that very well. Almost had 2 touchdowns last week, so you could do worse as a desperation play against the Giants. He's better than Eric Ebron, at least when it comes to time to catch the ball. And, we'll see whether Chicago's defense, the Chicago offense found themselves at the end of that game, or it was really just the Lions were in shambles, and Matt Patricia just, took the heart away from that team in the 4th quarter like he has. I think the stat, Cease, My buddy Uriah Zane Hunt said it to me, like 11 lost fourth quarter leads already. He hasn't even been coaching that long to lose 11 fourth quarter leads. It's bad. It's bad.
Right.
So we'll watch this stuff to see how to frame Chicago's stirring comeback from week one.
Yeah, well, it is a Broncos show. Vic Fangio's coached 17 games for the Broncos. 4 of them he's had the lead with 30 seconds or less and lost. So that's something. That number's from my man Sean Drotar, Fan Late Night. All right. Next up, how about some late nights with Jerry Jones? Well, how about not? But Atlanta and Dallas is up next, and Atlanta's going to do their thing. Todd Gurley continue to do his thing. Fantasy GM's going to go, I can trust you one more week. Good. I'll do that. And Matt Ryan's going to throw it up. That's what they do. Their defense isn't going to stop anybody. The Cowboys offense, pretty good. Regardless of what you saw in week 1, should be better for week 2, which means putting the pressure on Matt Ryan, which means throwing it up to Julio, Calvin Ridley. Are both those guys top 10 fantasy receivers this week, Bloom? Wouldn't shock me if they finish that way. Russell Gage is at least a what-the-heck flex, maybe even a little bit more. And then we'll see if Hayden Hurst can kind of uncork this week. That's kind of the only data point I'm wondering about. Like, is Hayden Hurst going to fit? Is he going to break through this week after struggles last week?
Yeah, it's tough to determine what we're going to get from Atlanta each week, right? Because last week it was a garbage time game. And so the defense and the offense fates are intertwined. If the defense continues to be that bad, will it be another garbage time game? I'm sure Dallas would like that. If I'm planning this offense this week, Dirk Cutter, I'm running Todd Gurley like 35 times. I said 50, maybe 50 times. I don't know if he could handle it 50 times, but 30, 35 times. I want to keep Dak Prescott offense on the bench. I don't want my defense on the field against Dallas's offense. And we saw the Rams able to do this. A lot of Malcolm Brown, some Cam Akers last week. So that's going to be something to watch. Maybe it is a Gurley game, or maybe just the Rams' run offense was just that good. And Gurley's not going to be able to have as much success. But they were going to Gurley early. He scored. And then they weren't able to. So is that what happens to Gurley this week? Dallas' defense certainly is going to encourage the run. Leighton Vander Esch with the broken collarbone. They're going to encourage the run, even though they have some vulnerabilities in the secondary. Alden Smith looked fantastic, by the way. Does that dude have like a 9-foot wingspan? I know that he had some troubles in his past, but he's a fun football player to watch, and good for Dallas for being rewarded for taking the chance on him. We heard from Jay Glazer all offseason that he really turned his life around. He really got back to the player he was before, and sure enough, we should trust Jay Glazer on that one. Whether it's garbage time or not, you probably play Matt Ryan anyway. Shootout, garbage time. Atlanta's defense, until Atlanta's defense firms up like they did in the second half of the year last year, that's going to make Matt Ryan a better play. Julio Jones, Ridley must plays. And like you said, we're looking at the Gage versus Hurst thing. Because with Hurst, some of it you have to chalk up to Jamal Adams. And I know New England doesn't have a tight end this week to worry about, so we're not going to factor that into our game projections. But maybe Hurst is a bigger part of the offense this week. Again, Leighton Vander Esch out. With Engage won't get the garbage time. Cup runneth over. Again, we're watching the Dallas defense in general, and we're watching what Atlanta's offense looks like if it's not garbage time, if they can avoid garbage time. This one's kind of an elimination game, Cease. I look at these teams that are 0-1. You go to 0-2. You're not out of the playoffs by any stretch, but the numbers go way down, and you don't want to be 0-2. And Dallas, especially, a trendy Super Bowl pick. And again, these ticky-tack offensive pass interference calls, I sure hope they did a meeting with some emphasis on this. Let them play. Hockey knows this. When the game's on the line, you let them play. How about the Nuggets last night, by the way, Cease? Let them play. Dallas should be 1-0, or at least have a chance to be 1-0.
What's a flailings? That's what all these DBs are doing now.
Exactly. Well done.
Well, I mean, come on. Again, Michael Irvin's looking at today's football and being like, I couldn't play. I wouldn't catch anything because it'd be interference all the time. And the DBs are selling it, right? But as a ref, you need to let them play, especially late game heroics, non-heroics. Let's talk about Dallas and everything that they have, because they have so much. You're starting Zeke, of course. You don't listen to the show to be like, don't start Zeke. Of course you do. Like, come on. So Cooper, sure. Yep. Continue on that. Let's watch Gallup and CeeDee Lamb continue. Lamb, the most productive rookie receiver last week in terms of yards, Well, it wasn't that much, Bloom. It was 59. So can he approach that 100-yard mark? Can that happen? Well, against Atlanta, anything is possible.
Exactly.
There's your KG reference, by the way. More basketball talk.
Yeah, they let Russ cook, and cook he did against this Atlanta secondary, even though he took some hits. Dak Prescott. Did we underrate the Rams defense? Is that part of it? Aaron Donald. Oh man, no, that's must see TV.
Hey, analytics guys, stop bagging on Aaron
exactly.
Donald. You look
Please.
silly.
He's going to come to your house and run through a wall or something just to show you shouldn't underrate him. So Dak Prescott gets more comfortable. He didn't look comfortable all the time last week. Does he get more comfortable against this Atlanta defense? Is it a big Dak Prescott week? The other thing we're going to watch here is with Blake Jarwin out. Hated seeing that. At least he got his contract. With Blake Jarwin out, is that just more targets? Is it basically make all three now 1,000-yard for all three receivers? It almost seems like it'll be an upset if it doesn't happen. And CeeDee Lamb would have liked to have like one more yard last week. Maybe the game would have turned out differently on that one too. Hate it when you throw short of the sticks on fourth down. That's probably a rookie mistake. It's probably the depth he ran the route. That's something that should stick out there. Atlanta's defense last week crushed. Was it just letting Russ cook and it just makes everything easy? Or is it just how Atlanta's defense is going to be? I mean, look, even if Prescott looks great this week and this offense hums, I still won't say that Atlanta's defense is total trash because these are two tough draws. And then for Dallas, on the other hand, he's offensive line. It's part of the reason that Dak didn't look comfortable is because with Lyle Collins out, Terrence Steele, undrafted free agent rookie there, we're going to see Tack McKinley, Dante Fowler teeing off. Or is that just, hey, again, we underrated the Rams defense. Lots of intrigue here. And, again, these teams should be feeling a little bit of that season death fear going into this game 0-1.
Mm-hmm. There is such a thing in Save the Cat, which you see the book behind me right there, Bloom.
Yeah.
The ultimate screenwriting book, by the way. I love Save the Cat. R.I.P. Blake Snyder. But he says there has to be a whiff of death in every movie.
Yeah.
Even movies like Groundhog's Day or Elf. There's a whiff of death. Well, that's week 2 in the National Football League. So let's continue on. And Detroit, full disclosure, recording this on Wednesday morning. It is Wednesday morning, right? Wednesday morning. And so we're waiting to the practice reports. We don't know yet what's going to happen with Kenny Golladay, but we know that Marvin Jones Jr. and TJ Hawkinson and Dammy Amendola can come through. And then more Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift. You just feel bad for the kid, man. You feel bad for that. Touchdown goes right through his hand. So how does he bounce back? It's not the National Feelings League. It's the National Football League. So you got to get over it, kid. So how does he get over it? It's Lions this week. They are traveling to face Green Bay. Let's talk about the Detroit side.
That's bad. Cease. I'll give you a quick pop quiz here. Aaron Rodgers has played 20 games against Detroit. What's the Green Bay record in those 20 games?
20-0.
Yeah, right. 15-5. But okay, you get the point. You get the point here. I should have really looked at that record in Green Bay, but it's bad. It's bad. Stafford was good until the collapse in the fourth quarter. So do they carry that over? Green Bay's pass rush is pretty fearsome here. Whether Kenny Galladay's back is going to be a big part of this. But even with Kenny Golladay out, Marvin Jones Jr. didn't do much. Quintez Cephas, welcome to the league. Not that efficient. TJ Hawkinson, good, but not great. So if Galladay's back, I mean, who are we going to like to start from this offense? Golladay in his first week back? I don't know. Even Hawkinson isn't as much of an alluring play if Golladay is back. And then in the backfield, Adrian Peterson, the best back, but you're not going to play him because you think they could fall behind. Maybe it is a DeAndre Swift game. If did you see the video of the Lions fans, like, as the ball's in the air, they're like, yeah! And the guy's like, yes! And then his friend's telling him, like, no, he dropped it. He's like, oh my God! I mean, it was exactly as I pictured. Look for it out there, the clip, folks. But DeAndre Swift catches that touchdown, and he's toast to the town. 2 touchdowns, even though he got limited touches. Role should be growing. But if we think they're going to be behind, he's the passing down back. And R.I.P. Kerryon Johnson, career and upside. I'm sorry. I'm dropping him in dynasty leagues. Is that rash? I don't know. But I'm certainly not holding on to him. Green Bay defense, pretty good last week. And they gave up a lot during garbage time. So maybe we see a repeat of that this week, but still, this is a good defense. Maybe there's your defense to pick up and play this week. Detroit's offense looked good, but does the emotional weight of this carry over going to Lambeau? See, I know there's no home field advantage in terms of fans in the stands, but there's still the idea of memories attached to places that are tough to win, even just sleeping in your own bed. Some of these things that we may see play out, even though there aren't going to be fans in the stands, I still feel like this is Detroit walking into an ambush.
Well, and we can talk about it plenty, Bloom, because it applies to everybody. I'm not relying on garbage time except for my what the heck flexes. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm willing to take that chance, not with my regular starters. Green Bay's regular starters, we got the chat room asking, is Marquez Valdez-Scantling now that number 2? Okay, what about Alan Lazard? We're not going to forget about him. Maybe that goes a little back and forth this year. We know it's going to go a lot to Davante Adams. Thank you. A lot to Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers is going to do his thing. And all is good for Matt LaFleur. You want to seem like a genius? You want to seem like, oh, you're better than McVay or whatever. Any of those Shanahan disciples, right? Because he comes from that Shanahan tree, like a Brian Flores, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, etc. Hey, Matt LaFleur, just make nice with Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to look like a genius.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much of your fingerprint. Look at Adam Gase. Adam Gase is relying on the reputation he built with Peyton Manning, and Manning ran everything. So, Matt LaFleur, just keep doing what Aaron Rodgers wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. And Detroit has 3 banged-up corners going into this one. Justin Coleman on IR, Desmond Trufant banged up, Jeffrey Okudah banged up. So start all of them. Davante Adams, it was just such a terrible matchup, Holton Hill. That's why, terrible matchups this week. Davante Adams might be the number 1 receiver again this week. Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, yes, they're going to have chances to get open deep. Aaron Rodgers, if he's the number 1 fantasy quarterback of the week, it will not surprise me. Aaron Jones, enough targets and enough goal line opportunities that you're feeling good about Aaron Jones, even though he's still sharing with Jamal Williams and Tyler Ervin, even getting some touches there. Can Detroit's defense recover with a banged up secondary? I doubt it. Or was it just that Minnesota's defense that is that bad? If Detroit's defense is semi-competent with their corners banged up, then we'll say, geez, and we'll be watching Phillip Rivers in the same time slot here. That and Detroit, that defense, is that going to be a defense that we're targeting going forward if they can't recover from that? So a lot of stuff to watch here. Probably just a game that, generally Green Bay, Lambeau, inferior opponent, it's just a walk in the park.
A walk in the park. Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Titans fans, they're going, whew. They got out of there on Monday night with a win. Jacksonville now coming up next. They're feeling good about being 2-0 to start the season, but does Jacksonville change that? Does Gardner Minshew look better than Drew Lock? Yeah, it's certainly possible. Is he going to miss wide open receivers? Is he going to bird dog his receivers the way Lock was on Monday night? Or is he going to find Visca? Is he going to find Shark? And then, of course, what do we see from James Robinson in week 2? I don't know. Have waivers run in Festival OG yet, Bloom? Because I'm waiting
tonight.
I'm waiting to see if my, sizable bid went across for James Robinson. So fingers crossed. Let's see what they do against the Titans this week.
Cecil, if the Jags can pull off this road win, they're going to be in first place all alone. All alone in first place, Jags.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought we'd say that this year. So hat tip to Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania. Maybe not. He's in your lineup this week. Maybe not. But certainly he's helping you be a little more encouraged to start James Robinson. James Robinson's helping with that. Tennessee's defense. It's hard to know what to say about Tennessee's defense. Cease. Like as you watch the game on Monday night, Drew Lock and the running game and. I can't say whether Tennessee's defense is a good or a bad defense yet, based on how that game went.
I think Pat Shurmur's just bad at calling offense.
Right. And Jay Gruden's good. So maybe we expect some success here, although it is a split in the passing game between Chark and Visca and Keelan Cole with a little bit of Chris Conley. So the ceiling is lower, especially if Minshew's so efficient, 19 for 20. He should have been AFC Offensive Player of the Week, by the way. Chark obviously gives you that upside. He had the pass interference penalty drawn. Tennessee's corners shouldn't strike fear in anybody. Adoree Jackson's on IR. Laviska Chenault, the classic what the heck flex here. This is actually setting up to be a very entertaining game, though. And again, we'll learn more about Tennessee, or was it just Pat Shermer's play calling? We'll learn about, is it that Jay Gruden's going to make this offense viable every week, or maybe Indianapolis just he had insight into how to beat them, but it won't have as much insight. And we'll see. I'm excited. It's interesting here, Cease, that both of these stories, the either or stories, come down to play callers. We always have to remember who's the play caller, their history, how they're doing, how they're meshing with their players, how Jay Gruden, and I love, by the way, Jay Gruden saying, well, Minshew left the pocket on a few plays that were supposed to be deep shots. We never tell any player they were perfect. You like that? Yeah, I think Minshew is happy. Okay, coach. Okay, this is a real interesting game, and Tennessee, it's good to win in Denver, but it seems like every year seats in the AFC South, no matter how the teams actually are with relation to each other in terms of the quality of the team, it's hard to know what's going to happen in any AFC South games we found last week.
Hard to know what's going to happen with Corey Davis, right? And we'll go back to the recap show and just the waiver wire show. We're talking about Corey Davis. It's like, okay, was that just the Broncos' god-awful secondary? Maybe. Or maybe Corey Davis has found it, and captured it. Some players do that. Some players take years to find their way in the NFL. I always bring up Thomas Jones, who wasn't anything with Arizona and barely anything with Tampa, and then was a 1,000-yard back for the Jets, the Bears, and the Chiefs. So could Corey Davis be this year's Devontae Parker, like Matthew Berry asked? Yeah, it's possible. It's also possible the Broncos just have garbage corners and the garbage situation on defense. So, okay, we'll see what that means for Davis. We know that A.J. Brown's going to be the man, and they'll get him involved and all that. Jonnu Smith will do his thing. And, of course, Derrick Henry, smash. Hulk smash. Derrick Henry smash. Jacksonville, you're up.
A lot to sift through here. In terms of figuring out what's real and what's not. Ben Gretsch, who does great work with his signal versus noise. What's signal, what's noise here? Because Ryan Tannehill's not going to throw 43 times in every game. And Denver's corners are bad. AJ Boye hurt now. Denver's corners are bad. Ooh, Ben Roethlisberger's going to have fun this week. Watch me bloom the Steelers. So without that volume, I mean, even Johnny Smith and Corey Davis, do you go right back to the well? Jacksonville's defense gave up a lot through the air. They were the bend but don't break defense. So they have something. I mean, that's the thing. So Derrick Henry, of course you're playing Derrick Henry. The Jacksonville run defense was better than we thought last week against Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor didn't really get going in the running game. It was the passing game where he did his damage. Jacksonville's defense, C.J. Henderson. Again, I'll mention this because we love Brian Baldinger. Brian Baldinger is one of the OGs, by the way, Cease, in our world of enthusiasm and positivity and excitement. Yep. Excitement about the game, passion
glory
about
to the players, glory to the game, and just excitement about football, man.
Yeah, but with knowledge and with a real sense of taking your work seriously, but not necessarily taking yourself seriously. So I don't know if I'm going to play Corey Davis. I don't know if I'm going to play A.J. Brown. I mean, the thing I'm looking for here is, okay, if Tannehill only throws, say, 25 passes this week because Tennessee can control the game, what does that do for the upside of any of these guys, including Tannehill, who was let down mostly by the kicker? See, that's the other thing, Cease. If Gostkowski is kicking well, it's a comfortable win for them, and we're thinking, okay, they had to settle for some field goals instead of touchdowns. They were on the road. This offense is still a very good offense. The 16 points makes it seem like not such a very good offense. And again, Jacksonville's defense, they've got some spirit. They've got C.J. Henderson, who looks like a leader now. Brian Baldinger saying he was the best defensive rookie he watched in week 1. So maybe we're taking a step back from Tennessee's offense this week and the options because Jacksonville's defense was better than expected. Because if we think Tennessee can control this game at home, they're not going to throw very much. So more questions than answers of what to expect going forward from Tennessee. And of course, on the other hand, for Tennessee, as far as their team fate goes, if they can win this one, 2-0, then they'll be all alone in first place.
Mike Vrabel's showing more personality too. I like that. Because his personality is that of an ass. Like he's going to tell you. So he talks smack about Vic Fangio. And it's like, oh, okay. That's kind of rare. We don't get that from head coaches that often. So, okay, Mike Vrabel, keep it up. What about Minnesota and Indianapolis, Bloom? This one's got a ton of questions because, all right, what are we going to see from the Vikings offense in terms of Justin Jefferson? Is he going to do more? Is Irv Smith actually going to do something? Adam Thielen will do his thing, of course, and we're going to watch that running back situation and that split as well. But this one going up against the Colts, all right, how much will Minnesota have to put their foot on the gas? And what does that mean for those fantasy assets for the Vikings?
This is another one of those elimination games. Minnesota wants to run, so they don't want to put the foot on the gas at all. They just want to have a lot of Dalvin Cook. Alexander Madison look pretty good. Low pass volume for Kirk Cousins. So you're playing Thielen, and that's it. And we're looking at the Indy defense. And again, Indy defense not as good as we thought, or was it that Minshew, Gruden game plan and execution? And Minnesota, was it that their offense isn't humming as much as we thought it would be, or is it just because of Green Bay and their defense? Minnesota's defense being so bad that they couldn't get into their game script. So that's the thing, right? I mean, it's like interesting Kevin Stefanski going to Cleveland because he was in Minnesota. So Cleveland, Minnesota, these teams have intent on offense and they have modes on offense that they practice and they're very good in those modes. But if their defense is so bad that they can't stay in that mode, we have to rethink the entire offense in terms of fantasy impact. So we want to see Indy's defense bounce back, maybe to continue that, but Minnesota's defense may make it moot if they can't slow down Phillip Rivers. That is, if Phillip Rivers doesn't slow down himself.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers throwing one pick six in this game? Yeah. You just don't know, but we know that it's Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines. It's their show. So what does that mean? Paris Campbell, does he continue to look like the best Colts receiver? What does that mean for T.Y. Hilton? Jack Doyle is maybe not as an exciting tight end start this week. There's others out there, certainly. So with the Colts, it's again, was week one who you are, or are you just working out the kinks, Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, lots of kinks there. Jonathan Taylor, Hines should both be in the lineup. You're going to get those targets from Phillip Rivers. And if the Minnesota defense is having trouble defending the pass, that's still going to create opportunities for Jonathan Taylor in the running game. You don't want Phillip Rivers throwing the ball 46 times. You don't want. If Indy's defense is a little better, he shouldn't have to. But then again, Minnesota's defense is so easy to throw on. Although that being said, here's a funny parallel for you, Cease. Minnesota's defense was so easy to throw on, but they're not missing Xavier Daniels. I'm thinking McDaniel.
McDaniel, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking Rhodes.
Yeah, Xavier Rhodes, who gave up the game-winning touchdown in that game. So Minnesota's saying, we're hurting a corner, but nah, we don't miss you. That's something to watch when Minnesota has the ball. Because those Minnesota corners, though, you got to play Campbell. I think he's the number one receiver in this offense, maybe even Hilton this week. I think you're going to have success throwing downfield. Jack Doyle in a game where he throws 46 times, Rivers that is, doesn't do much, so probably not going back to Jack Doyle. Zach Pascal still playing a big role, so we're not going to him. Or Michael Pittman, 3A, 3B. And again, is it just that Aaron Rodgers is that good, or is Minnesota defense that bad? Or both? Is Rivers declining to the point where it doesn't matter the defense that he's facing, and he's going to underwhelm? Or maybe we have to give the Jacksonville defense a little bit of credit. Big stories.
Big stories. Big Buffalo and Miami matchup. And maybe a little bit less exciting for me, Bloom, just based on what Miami did or did not do last week. But the Buffalo side, there's not a lot of nuance here. We're going to see the continued split of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. Okay. I would like Dawson Knox to do a little bit more, maybe gather in that end zone target that Josh Allen threw his way. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs doing their thing with Smoke being more of the number two receiver, which is what he is. So, again, Buffalo is pretty simple. Kind of know what they're going to do. Allen's going to run the ball, and they're going to try to beat you up and get that win. The way the Dolphins performed in week one, well, I'm picking Buffalo to win this week. What's it mean for fantasy?
Yeah, I think we thought, oh, hey, is Miami going to get into the power rankings here this year, like really accelerate the growth of this team under Brian Flores? No, not so fast. Josh Allen was fantastic, save for 4 or 5 plays. Story of Josh Allen's career. Right. Tougher corners this week. So what I'm looking at this game, see something is Brian Dable just really smart and said, why take the bull by the horns? Why are we going to run it the Jets? We're going to let Josh Allen run this offense. But against a defense, Miami's defense with better corners, they'll run more, just like New England did last week. The team that we think of when we think of week-to-week game plans. So maybe it's more of a Zach Moss week, who's a little more valuable than Devin Singletary, but maybe it's also Devin Singletary what the heck flex week. You took Devin Singletary in the 4th or 5th round. You're like, what the heck flex? That's not what I took in the 4th round. That's where we're at right now. Again, Diggs and John Brown. John Brown should have had 2 touchdowns. Just totally missed by Josh Allen, wide open in the end zone. But do you go back to Diggs and Brown, knowing that they face Xavier Allen and Byron Jones this week? Maybe it is, I'm not saying to play Dawson Knox. Maybe it's a Hail Mary in DFS. But is it more of a Dawson Knox week? Is it more of a Cole Beasley week? Is it more of a week where you're asking Josh Allen to take care of the ball? Buffalo's defense can still make this game very winnable no matter what the offense does, even though he was so magnificent. Was it just that the Jets defense was that bad? That's the other thing. The Jets defense, come on. I mean, Miami's defense was still competent against Cam Newton and New England, although they don't have much in terms of receiving options. Or is it that Josh Allen has really grown up, save those 3 or 4 plays a game? Was Miami's defense just not ready for Cam Newton, not ready for what Josh McDaniels unveiled? Or is it still a defense we're going to target whenever we look at offenses? We say what they want to do, they're going to be able to do it. Lots to learn in every game this week.
I just don't know how you wouldn't be ready for Cam Newton when Cam Newton was the same Cam Newton.
Right.
Both good and bad. Especially with Brian Flores. Dude, I love Brian Flores. It's just team loves him. And they responded like that. That was very curious to begin the season that way. Again, this is kind of like my Pat Shurmur. Notice who's on my shut your mouth list this week. Sorry, Joe, Pat Shurmur. Because you have all year long to prepare for one game. Now you have 1 week to prepare for this game, but you had all year long, Brian Flores, and that's how you came out in week 1. It's not like they did anything new with Cam Newton. Hey, watch out for the quarterback running. You know what I mean? Like, watch out for
at the goal line.
Edelman with targets. Like, come on. So how do they respond this week? Are there? This is sad to say, but I think it's kind of relevant, Bloom. Are there any Dolphins you want in your lineup at all, even as what the heck flexes?
No.
Next.
No. Well, and there's still stuff to talk about here. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the cycle. We're on the he needs to get off the field and let the next quarterback play cycle. We'll see if he get another cycle next year on another team. Maybe he's a Steelers starting quarterback. I don't know. Although Ben Roethlisberger looks like he's got more gas left in the tank than Drew Brees right now. So, Devontae Parker has a chance to play. I don't ever want to put someone in my lineup when on Wednesday they say he has a chance to play. That means he does not have a chance to be in my lineup, especially if he faces Tre'Davious White. Although if he is in, then maybe it is Preston Williams as a what the heck flex. But he could play and then go out in the first quarter, and then Preston Williams is going to face Tre'Davious White. So you're looking at Mike Gesicki, who still didn't look that impressive in week 1. You're looking at Jakeem Grant, Isaiah Ford, maybe Lynn Bowden Jr. gets active. I don't know. The backfield, they can't run. So forget about Jordan Howard. They're not using Matt Breida in the passing game. So forget about him. Miles Gaskin. Breida, thank you. This is going to be like banana. Breida. Anyway, so Miles Gaskin is there when they're behind back. So maybe as a what the heck flex, maybe it's Miles Gaskin because he fits that mode for the team you think they're going to be behind. Or maybe we're being too hard on the Miami offense because New England's defense is still really good, Cease. Maybe we'll realize we were being too hard on them, but Buffalo's defense is pretty good. Again, the Jets' offense. Again, we're saying Buffalo's defense is pretty good because of what they did to the Jets, but maybe the Jets are going to make every defense look good. So yeah, we have to talk about the Jets at some point, aren't we?
Yeah, it's the last game we're going to talk about in part 1 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. It's San Francisco and the Jets, not Benny and the Jets. Ha ha ha. I want to crack jokes, Bloom, because I don't want to talk about the Jets. So let's talk about the 49ers. I mean, Jet McKinnon's a what the heck flex. It's the Jets. My God. So you're going to be promoted and prompted to start your 49ers. Jimmy G. Hey, you want to look good? Go. Yeah, do it. Maybe with Brandon Ayuk this week. We'll watch his practice status again, recording Wednesday morning. Whenever you're listening to this, thank you. But so we'll have to see if Brandon Ayuk can practice. Okay. I don't think Mohamed Sanu is the answer for the 49ers as they sign him. So you're kind of hoping Ayuk can play, and you're hoping that George Kittle's okay. We'll watch his practice status this week too.
Best version of Benny and the Jets, by the way. Bismarcky. Check it out. Check it out if you haven't heard it. It's fantastic. He doesn't even know the words. This makes it even better, actually. Anyway, Jimmy Garoppolo, he didn't know the words last week. He was mumbling when he was supposed to be singing and opera arias. No, it was the death knell for San Francisco's chances to win in that game. This is a bad Jets pass defense. Come on, Jimmy. Get it together. Now, he might have a low volume if San Francisco rolls here, so I'm not saying put him in your lineup. Raheem Mostert, probably in your lineup because of his passing game contributions, but the Jets are a very tough run D. Again, Brian Dable and the Bills said, we're not really even going to test this run defense in the first half. We're going to pass. So, again, maybe Garoppolo pulls it out there. Jerick McKinnon, maybe with passing game woes, he gets more targets. And like you said, the wide receiver's just a mess. Deebo Samuel, setback. I have no idea when we're going to see Samuel this year. I mean, we will probably see him this year, but the new IR rules make it really hard to know the outlook for players on IR.
Right.
It's not good, though. So maybe it's the Brandon Ayuk debut. He's a what-the-heck flex if he's on the field. Mohamed Sanu, at least you got the Kyle Shanahan connection, Cease, back to Atlanta. So he's going to know the offense. He's going to be able to step in and understand his role. I'm not saying to play him. Is George Kittle going to be okay? So on top of all the wide receiver stuff, George Kittle's got a banged-up knee. Is it Jordan Reed? I have no idea. I don't think there's anybody that I'm excited to play. It's the Jets week, and there's no one I'm excited to play for the 49ers. And also, we have to look and see, again, Josh Allen, is he really growing up, or is the Jets pass D that bad? Is Arizona's defense actually pretty good, or were those a lot of unforced errors from Jimmy Garoppolo that we may see continue even against a bad Jets defense, which every now and then has a day? We'll see. And Adam Gase and Sam Darnold probably not going to have a day against the 49ers.
Instead of talking about the Jets, can I talk about comic books instead?
Yeah,
something that
sure.
makes me happy.
Yeah.
By the way, I met someone yesterday. Actually, I knew her, but I didn't know that her boyfriend worked for J. Scott Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And J. Scott Campbell's like top comic book artist, what have you. And in fact, I'll grab it off the wall here. Well, actually, I'm just in my underwear, so I won't stand up.
Secrets of the show.
The secret of the show. This is my rejection letter from Homage Studios from the 90s when I entered a talent contest to be a comic book artist. And the guy that won, J. Scott Campbell.
Wow.
Who lives here in Denver, by the way.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's small world. Small world.
See, if you had to send a superhero to defeat comic book villain Adam Gase, who's going to be able to thwart Adam Gase's evil powers?
Taco Man. Because he'd just stare, just like put a taco on his belt, and then Gase would just stare at his junk and be like, what?
Is there a
then,
superhero named Taco Man?
No, but there should be.
Get on that.
Taco truck driver by day,
right.
Superhero by night.
Yeah.
I'll put him into the universe. Let's put out some vibes in the universe,
right.
I guess. Talking about the Jets, I guess. No Le'Veon Bell. Okay. Will they use Jamison Crowder before the third quarter? Is that a thing? My man Denzel Mims, I feel so bad for Denzel. So whatever is whatever. Let's talk about the Jets, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk. See, I'm already thinking, like, what team do we want Sam Darnold to land on next year?
Patriots.
Are we good with Le'Veon? Right, that's how it's going to happen. Somebody, a tortured Jets fan said that's actually how it's going to happen. That Darnold's going to be the next quarterback for the Patriots. Le'Veon Bell coming back to the Steelers on a 1 year, $2-3 million deal next year. We good for that? Cease? We good with that? Someone said, hey, he may be back on the Steelers by mid-season. I'd be great with that. And yes, see, we're going to turn this into a Steelers show because we don't want to talk about the Jets. Cease, will you please clear this up for folks? Is there zero chance Le'Veon Bell will ever end up on the Steelers again because they hate him in the locker room? Or is there still a strong connection between Bell and the Steelers?
There's still a strong connection there.
Yeah.
So, kiss and make up.
Yeah, I want to see it, baby. I want to see it. Let's all kiss and make up and put it all behind us.
Right.
There's not much putting behind you if you're a Jets fan. Josh Adams as a what the heck flex with Le'Veon Bell on IR. Still play Crowder. If Herndon was your best tight end in week 1 and you didn't pick up Dallas Goedert, maybe he's your best tight end this week. San Francisco's defense didn't have an answer for Kyler Murray's running. I don't think Sam Darnold can do that. Didn't have an answer for DeAndre Hopkins. And Richard Sherman on IR, by the way. Who's going to take advantage of that? Rashad Perryman with his banged up knee. And, and we have to give, again, what are we going to learn really? Oh, Buffalo's defense we think is good because the Jets' defense look bad. Well, we think San Francisco's defense is pretty good too. We think the Jets' offense is pretty bad. So tune in tomorrow for better storylines than the Jets and 49ers.
Tune in tomorrow where it is a Broncos and Steelers show, literally, because they play each other. But as always, tune in to the Audible, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. We certainly appreciate you guys for listening to the show. If you listen to the show, you never watch the show, watch the show. Watch the show. YouTube.com/footballguys.
You might see Cecil in his underwear.
Maybe. It depends if I have to get another one of the pictures off the wall. I could actually even show you one of, if I could stand up. I might turn my camera off. I could show you one of the pictures that I did submit to that talent contest. It's of Spawn and Hellstrom. But anyway, so that's a wrap for the show on YouTube. Make sure to do all the YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, help us grow the channel. We certainly appreciate you guys. Now over 11,000 subscribers.
Wow.
So thank you guys for that. We love you. We got a ton of content on this channel. Bloom IDP show tonight. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Tonight with Matt Schauf and John Norton. And we're underway. This is how we know what day of the week it is, Cease, by what show we're doing.
And appreciate you all out there, like our man Nick. We thank you very much for checking out the Audible. It is Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom, and I just went third person, so that means it's time to say stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.